What up, everyone? It's one of my streams again. This weekend has actually been a little bit, well, my weekend has been mostly calm and, well, a little bit bored now that fall is around the corner, and it's just about less than 2 months now for until Christmas, and it's like, boy, it's, it's a new holiday, and I apologize for not doing a stream yesterday. Oh, hey, Brony Dreamer. Hello. The reason I didn't stream yesterday is I have a little bit of bad headache, and even though I were considered to do a stream, but I wasn't really sure if I would handle it that much. So I apologize if I didn't stream yesterday, and I do wonder how other people around in the world asked yesterday how they handled Friday 13, was it a bad luck day? Well, I didn't have any much bad luck at Oh, I brought it.
Not
Uh,
there.
do you have did you have any bad luck yesterday during Friday 13?
Mm, Never.
Yeah, same here. I normally don't have much bad luck, but the good thing is that those Friday 13 doesn't even happen every month. That would have been yeah, that would have been a little too much painful. I remember only one time that it actually happened twice, almost like in 2 months in a row, and I was like, okay, that's new. I mean, the most common things when the people actually are most afraid of during Friday 13 is walk under a staircase or under or not no staircase, but under a ladder, or if you see a black cat walk across the street, which yeah, so that is one of the most common things. So how is the over there in Indonesia? Is there any, in the monsoon period yet?
Nope.
Good thing too, because based on what I've seen on the videos or even on the news about that, it's terrible. I mean, that rain can last for weeks or at least a couple of months, and it's not like light rain. It is like really pouring and cause a lot of floods. It's uh, it's one of the bad things, and unfortunately, Game Guy won't be able to join in since he's and his family are out for small vacation time, so they won't be able to join in. But next time when Game Guy will show up, it if we're doing a game show stream, for example, it won't be just him and his older brother Roy. It will also be his other older brother Dylan, who is currently is studying psychology in the United Kingdom. But now he is back home for see his family for a while. So he has been in all my streams before. I think once or twice, and he's actually a good brother to him though. And the only difference that you can definitely see realize some people had said that Roy and Game Guy sounds very much similar. And I can separate them from voices, but Dylan is easy to recognize because when he talks, he has this British accent. So that's easy to separate from him and his other brothers. He um, he had another brother earlier, but unfortunately he is no longer around since he passed away about a year ago, around this time actually. And he his brother Jake was unfortunately killed in a car accident. It was about the time when their dad and Dylan, or their dad was supposed to be driving Dylan to the airport, and So Dylan was in the passenger seat at the front. His younger brother Jake was in the back seat with his girlfriend at the time. Um, Unfortunately, none of them had a seatbelt, and they slipped. I believe they slipped on the black ice, which is normal ice, that just is on the road, so that's very thin layer of ice, and the car hit a boulder. At least what I remember for what game guy told me about it, and that's unfortunately Jake and his girlfriend didn't survive the impact. They died instantly. But Dylan and his dad did survive, but they only had some minor scrapes or minor injuries or something like that. So they were using seat belts. But Jake and his girlfriend didn't. They didn't wear any seat belts. So uh, the question if they used that, they probably would have survived. It's horrible. And Game Guy did mention that he had another cousin other than the brother, but he passed away some years earlier. I don't remember. I don't think he actually even remember exactly what he died of, but he suspects it was cancer. But he was very young at the time when he passed away, and he had another older brother. I think he is the oldest one of all of them together. He is currently in behind bars for a reason that most people like. It's the most stupid reason for even doing this. He was about 13 or 14 when that happened. He um he was actually he killed his own teacher, and for the stupid reason is that he was not given the grade that he wanted for the subject or something like that. So he just simply killed his teacher for that. And of course, not only that, he was also a racist, and his teacher was a African American woman. I don't know how old she were, but still, that's regardless. It doesn't give him the right to even to do that. He could have been trialed as a juvenile, that he would end up in juvenile hall for um, stayed until he's 18, and if he did, he would be released by now. But unfortunately, the state decided to try him as an adult, which makes sometimes he could be another sent for between 25 years and lifetime. And he was sentenced for life without parole, meaning he will be in jail for his entire life without getting out. I mean, that's horrible. Knowing that one of your own family members do something like that, it's horrible. But other from his brother that's in now in behind bars, based on what he told me about his brother Jake was crazy. He was like a goofball. um, but yeah. Bronny, do you have any siblings?
Just some of brothers.
Only brothers?
Hmm.
Is it common thing for families in Indonesia to have large families, like I don't know, say between 10, 15 members in a household?
Maybe maybe not.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen that some families are really large. I did see this one man from India. He had like 20 wives, 20 plus kids, and I think 10 or 12 grandkids. And it's like 20 wives. I was like, wow. Unfortunately, that is not even. Unfortunately, multiple marriage or as that multiple partners is as a marriage partner is in the most part of the world is not allowed, including my
What a
country though. But
harem.
yeah, unfortunately, some countries there it is not legal to have two or even as four wives, for example. but in some countries that in the past it was actually very common. And we have him, our friendly Dewey Lake Monster. What up?
Hey,
You're okay?
yeah, I am.
Did something happen?
No, not really. I've been trying to use the Cody's new group that I got invited to join, and I was in this call and trying to speak, but his friends and all just trying to talk over me. And
Hmm.
I tried sharing a picture, but all I kept seeing was them continuously deciding to type and ignore it.
Um, you mean like putting a picture on
Like a
Discord
wall,
and
like a one of the pictures out of my file.
okay. Because sometimes, and if I want to upload some a picture in a DM in a group chat that we are in, it sometimes it didn't allow it because it could have been all different in nature, all the pros like that, and I was like, okay, but then I thought, why not separately, like to the person privately? Same thing, it didn't even work. So assuming that there's this big filter for that. Oh, speaking of Cody, if referring to Cody the Dog Hunt,
Yes, that
well,
Cody.
yeah. So speaking of him, last night, well, technically like 5 in the morning, I was like, decided to go to bed. I was on Facebook talking to Fire Goddess, and unfortunately, Cody asked me if I was up for a call, and I was like, no, sorry, I was about to head up off the bed, and he um he did call me, but I actually declined. He said parents asleep. Yeah, pretty much. It was like 5 in the morning over here. So I asked him what he wanted. So turned out he just wanted to talk about a new story that he asked for. So that's just that. But like 5 in the morning. Oh boy, I was like, uh huh, uh huh, half asleep, half awake. So but I mean, I'm not that uncommon to be awake for that early in the morning. Sometimes supposed to be. And
And what do you think of the pictures that I just shared on Discord?
hang on, huh? Oh, that's pretty cool. A
My
skeleton in
my
a
mom, my mom colored the four on the top, but she decided to share some of them with me. But the one on the bottom, that American flag skull, I found as a Facebook picture and I liked it.
yeah, and this skull were driving this car with flames on it, and assuming there's
There's a
whiskey or
dartboard
moonshine.
on the door.
Oh, that one is hilarious. By the way, you remember from one of your super millionaire questions of Evil Knievel?
Well, it was a true fact that I looked up on some of his accomplishment, like his accomplished jumps.
Yeah. It turned out he had a son. He dropped out of high school and became performed decided to be doing the same thing as his father did, and he did. I literally found out that he actually had a son about I think it was yesterday. I saw there's a video on YouTube.
And he
Unfortunately,
and I and you remember we talking about a show called Destroying Seconds?
I don't think so.
It was a show that had showed a whole bunch of things from like explosions and crashes, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But one clip showed Evil Knievel's son, and there was one of him jumping the Grand Canyon on a good sized gap. He actually managed to do it, and his jump was in the books before he crashed into the hay bales right at the end on the other side.
Wow. I saw him. I saw a clip of him jumping over 24 trucks. But here's the thing: his son passed away this year.
Ooh,
Yeah. Let's see. Evil.
Robbie Knievel. If I remember right, that was his name.
Yeah, he died January 13 early this year. He was only yeah, I believe he was around he was not that old. He was only 61 years old. He's actually the same age as he was actually he would have been the same age as my dad is.
Mm,
As but his
that's
father
crazy.
yeah, but and his father is how old was he? He see 2007
Hey,
1938.
Brony, how are you?
Oh,
I'm fine.
um,
I'm just look.
Evil
I'm
Knievel,
just looking
Evil
to
Knievel,
anime Fox wife.
Mm.
Evil Knievel was only 69 when he died, so um, his
Eight
son
year
was about a few
difference.
years younger. Yeah, but like I said, this Evil Knievel had at least a few grandkids, so who knows? Maybe one of them might be end up being doing the same performance as that. Well, game guys here in the list in the comments. He did. He told me that he was at this aquarium where he's seeing this sea lion and other things. I can say this: I had never seen a sea lion in person at all. But the closest thing to a sea lion that I seen was a walrus. But that was so long ago. In fact, in my hometown, there is this big zoo. Um, okay, not like I wouldn't say big as compared to like those Sea World in San Diego. No way, that's at a smaller comparison. But in that one in my hometown, they used to have um a one section of that sea lion and some penguins, but they forced had them removed because people were throwing some food at them, and unfortunately, it didn't work out much. And they used to have white tigers for a while there, and it was actually kind of cool. But unfortunately, that they're no longer around. But they do actually have several other animals. They actually had this uh, in one of the end of the place had a house painted as a big cheese because inside they had rats, other stuffed rats or even live rats and other type of rodent like mouses, rats, something like that, and it was cool. But unfortunately, that is longer around. Um, but they had a lot of animals. You know, earlier this summer, I was supposed to be going to this place with my sister and her boyfriend and her kids, and we talked about it. And she told me that she's gonna to ask her boyfriend about it. But only about a few days later, I was told from my mom that my sister went to this zoo with her family without even asking or telling that they were going. So I was a bit upset about it. So my dad, he suggested we went to another zoo that's a little bit further away from us. I think it was maybe an hour, 2 hours to drive. But that one is a little bit more expensive. A total of I think it would cost for just one person, three people, an adult, uh, 1,500 to believe. Kids under 3 years old will go in free, but that one has a bigger animal section to use on. They have seals, dolphin shows, and all that. And we went there. We were supposed to be seeing the first dolphin show, but unfortunately, we decided to grab something to eat first. and we did. So after that, we decided to go to for the to take the next show, but we went there. There wasn't even started yet, so um, the line outside was only as short. So we would decide to go see the seals first. But when we came back, the line was, I would say exactly, it was probably two, perhaps even three times longer. And it was already from when we first came there. Like, and my parents like, nope, there's no way we are standing there. And it's also, if we would have to stand by the end of all that, the risk, the chance that we never would even be let in, because all those people weren't being allowed in. Of course, there only a certain amount of people can be being let in each time. So that happened. So
Mm.
so my mom was a little bit bummer because she wanted to see it. And I told Fire Artist that we would take some photos and maybe a video of that place, but unfortunately that didn't happen. I was also excited to be able to see snow leopards.
Yeah, note to
One of my
yourself. If you're ever gonna watch any of those shows, eat early.
Yeah, we did actually leave around. I mean, we left home for around early noon. We arrived there for probably around 1 p.m. or almost like we did leave around 11 in early noon. Arrived there around just before 1 p.m. So, but unfortunately, it just it mostly is because even if there were a line, if we had to wait for maybe half an hour or so, my parents wouldn't even handle wouldn't be able to stand that long. So unfortunately, that happens. Some of the animals that I wanted to see was a snow leopard. Sadly, I wasn't even able to. They were not out. They had brown bears, lions, and other few animals, but that part of the section of the zoo wasn't that easily accessed to. You had to be going. This was like a safari. You had to go in a zip line around, but we didn't do that.
Mm.
That was a new addition because while the safari had been part of that zoo for a long time, but I think most recently they added that as a zip line because in the past you could take a car driving around it. I did that once with my grandfather and my siblings, but um, it didn't happen. So I later learned some years later, a lion literally attacked one of the cars, and you know the side mirrors of the car. It's that one was completely ripped off by a lion, literally. Okay, Mr. Mute guy is here. Uh, Game guy's muted, but he won't be able to talk though. Um, but yeah, that's who. This summer we actually did see a lot of animals. It was incredible to see some of the animals. They actually even had um predator bird shows like vultures. Um, I don't no wait, not vultures, but they had hawks, eagles, I believe. But suddenly we were not there to happen. You know those big animals that looks like a big um which which is considered as the biggest hamster
Guinea pigs.
or guinea pigs. You know, but you know what I mean, right?
Mm.
I mean, have you seen those? They are like, I mean, they looks like a guinea pig, but giant version of them.
Not really.
Capraya, something like Capara, or something like that. They're browny fur. I mean, I saw those, and I actually seen that some people had those as a pet, and they're basically just normal to have. I mean, if you had a guinea pig, then you can have those as well because all they eat is just vegetables and basically herbivores or plant eaters. They spend a lot of time in ponds, stuff like that. But there is one animal I would love to have as a pet. Either a white tiger or snow leopard. Um, but I do know for one thing, where I know for one fact that where Brony lives, tigers is a very common animal, isn't it? Aren't they? Brony,
Hmm?
is tigers common where you live? I mean, in your country?
No.
Huh. Well, learn something new. I mean, I used to know that were tigers on um, Bali and Java for one point, but the one on Bali became was hunted down to extinction around early, I believe, sometimes in the early 1900s.
You
That
know,
was just
Fish, I actually saw a video of a story of a man who was approached by a mother tiger who I think was at either at an old age or was too badly injured, and she, he just stood there. And she just walked right up to him, and I think he just touched on the head a little bit. She didn't do anything to him, but then she like I think was like wait here and all. She went and got her two kids and gave them to him before she went back into the woods and sadly died. And he took care of those cubs until they were
hmm,
old enough. And sometime
yeah,
later, when they were old enough, he was almost attacked until the two tigers he took care of showed up and saved his life.
wow. Yeah, here's the thing about most common predators like wolves,
I
foxes, or
mean,
even in this case tiger.
predator killer cats they might be, but sometimes it just takes some time for them to get used and be friendly.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Even if despite you find if you live in those even like in the US where you have where it's actually somehow allowed to have tigers, lions, or jaguars as a small exotic pet, despite if you had them at a young age and trained them how to
I
like be
mean,
tamed, it's impossible. You
I
really
mean,
can not you can't train a tiger or jaguar or even a wolf to be tamed
well, to be
because
fair, we
no
kind of
matter
do
how
train
much.
wolves because dogs do have that breed of wolf in them because they like to
True,
run.
true.
And also,
But the
Game Guy, quite the story it might be, but that story is actually true.
But the fact is, despite how much if you have a predator animal like a wolf or even a lion, that despite those people say that they can be harmless if you train them enough, well, the fact, no matter how much, it's impossible to get that basic animal instinct in their nature. And I forget, I can give for some
Hmm.
example. Uh, okay, this was actually a couple, a woman who had a pet chimpanzee. But here's the thing.
Nice. Wow.
That one, well, she should have regret to have a pet chimpanzee because after some time,
Mm.
her pet had been put down, and she ended up in a hospital for
Mm.
disfigured face because it attacked her and bit her
Um,
face.
Two things. One, do you also recall a story of a boy in the Philippines that had a pet anaconda?
I think you remember that you told us about it.
Yeah, I was so amazed when I saw the enormous snake, and just the fact that got along with this kid was just incredible.
Yeah, I mean,
And also, m- my family lost another pet dog on our side of the family. My great aunt had to put down her King Charles Spaniel because he was at an old
um,
age and he was getting deaf.
I don't think I heard that kind before, or that breed of dog.
It's an actual breed.
Uh, yeah, to be honest though, but there are so many breeds out there, so even I have probably only heard the name but never seen. And here's the thing about that: some, despite there are many different breeds, some simply hasn't been officially recognized as a species or as an
And
official breed. Others can't be that.
I do want
It's
to
just that.
say, uh, there are some animals people could consider as a pretty good pet. Zebras for one, because they don't really do much except eat grass. So why need a? So if you don't have a lawnmower, why bother? So if
That's
you have to eat
true.
them, why bother getting a lawnmower?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean,
and
but
also,
having it's yeah, go ahead.
but having wildcats for pets, it'd be better if you started them off as cubs because at least if they get to know you a little bit more, there's a chance they might not even attack you at all as they age.
Yeah, true. But the risk that they're always the risk they could do, and having a zebra as a pet, it's not much any different from having a regular horse. I mean, they're basically the same thing. It's just that.
But they're more exotic than horses
Yeah,
actually are.
yeah, but they're basically the same thing as from a regular horse, but just they're from a different country.
I
It's just like that. It's just so I mean, having a regular. I mean, you can even have a regular horse like a Mustang, and even a zebra in the same space. I mean, they're basically horses. There's not any difference except for the looks like. But there is actually there were actually one. There is one type of horse, but a type of zebra, um, which is half stripes. Rest of the body is not stripes. So the only the back part of from half of the back to
well,
the hind legs are stripes, and
but
that type of zebra is well,
but those zebras, but zebras, like I said, zebras are a lot more exotic because you see them in wild safaris and rarely ever
true.
on horse farms.
No,
So
that's true.
that's why I say they're exotic. And I mean,
Yeah, but
there
still, they can be
there
perfect
are
as a
there
pet.
are other
Otherwise,
there are other animals that not many people would consider as an exotic pet. Giraffes that might be one because well they can help with the leaves on trees, even around, especially if sometimes around autumn when that comes around. But that'd be one thing. But I can definitely say there are many that not many that no one would probably not even dare to consider a pet. Like for one, being a crocodile.
oh, dude, I have a story to tell you. I think I told the story before, but when my mom
But
was
I'm just being honest. Not many people really would consider any of those pets because you have to first of all have how to, handle being around them because they are fast and can twitch with those sharp teeth.
true. I mean, of course, but when it comes to the like crocodiles or alligators, there are different breeds of in their family. Some are like caimans, which just have this long, thin uh head. You know what I mean? That type
Mm.
of is one of those. But when my mom was, I think she was in the third or fifth grade, her teacher, at least one of her teachers, I believe her teacher actually um, had two pet caimans as pets, but
Mm.
they were sleeping in a bathroom and used the bathtub for to be in.
You know what
And
was a common pet in the elementary school I used to go to?
what?
Hermit crabs.
Ah, huh.
And
Uh,
I also have a memory when I started going to school. I remember my mom walked in with Buster, who was the boxer that my family had when I was born, and
hmm.
he came in one time and the whole class was all over him. He was very friendly.
Well, that might be true. You know, um,
And
there is one.
get this. He's the only one of my family's pets on that had a police escort to his burying place.
Hmm.
Yeah, my uncle
You
found under a pine tree. Uh because he died at an old age, and my mom was going about 5 miles per hour, and a cop pulled her over. Asked her, saw she was in tears, and goes, "What's wrong?" She pointed to the back seat. He saw Buster. He called for another cop, and they took her to have him be buried.
hmm. You guys have probably seen camels, right?
Yeah, I have, but
This
had never actually seen it. Well, I've seen him on Google Images, but never really seen any in real life.
Same here, but this might surprise you though. It actually were at one point that even North America had camel species.
Wouldn't that be true around the Arizona, New Mexico area? Because that area is mostly sand desert, and plus there is the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, and it says here that on the Wikipedia that I've seen that um, the one that lived was in southern North America, and that was around 13,000 years ago.
Mm.
And there's not only been surprising that even North America even had lions,
Mm.
and those lions were actually, I believe, was 25% bigger even an Africa lion. And the difference is that those lions, they don't even have those big African manes has. They only have our
Mm.
small ones. And even like wolves, we had always also been a big wolf, dire wolf. That one was 25% also bigger than regular than common wolves as today. But that one went extinct 10,000 years ago, as people believe. But it's possible it's still there. Um, by the way, have you guys seen any cougars or mountain lions?
No.
Me either. um, I know
I
that.
mean, but Swedish, if what you're saying about zebras and horses not really being of much difference despite their coloration and patterns, then wouldn't that personally put them as the horse pet on the horse pet list for at, for people who want an outdoor type pet?
Hmm. You know, I can say this: mountain lions or uh, cougars, they actually have been seen in your home state. And I just read out of mountain lions or cougars, if they exist in Game Guy's home state, they don't. There are no signs of any of them at there.
Yeah, I think you were almost about to give him a jump.
I mean, as people saying there haven't been any, there are hunters who claims they actually seen mountain lions even in states that they don't exist naturally. For one example, eastern cougar or eastern mountain lion. Well, here's the thing. It was declared as officially extinct 2007. But today, people still claim to actually seen mountain lions in that part of the country. And as even West Virginia has no wolves at all, but people can still may say that they are seeing wolves, wolf tracks and other like that in that state. And as but been, yeah, game guy. I've seen in the comments, but I can say this: even Mount Alliance doesn't seem to exist in Game Guy's home state as officially, but there's since that is a big state and has a lot of wooded areas, it's is it not impossible that Mount Alliance could exist? But if there are any, they're probably scattered and not in a big pack, sort of. I mean, okay, how about okay, Mount Alliance in your home state, Malachi, they were declared as wiped out in early 1900s. But now, recently, as this year, there have been several sightings for the past few years. So,
Mm.
but there are, as people saying, have seen alien big cats. Like, not like an alien from outer space, but they're just called that. Like, say, some claim to seen big black cats. Like, it's supposed to be in a black jaguar. Now that's impossible because first, they're not native to the country unless they've been walking across all the way up there, which, yeah, unlikely.
I think we
But
have a species called painted jaguars, and those are pretty to see.
true. Um, yeah, I mean, okay. How about um, okay? How about wolves? Um, in Game Guy's home state. Let's see. I'm not mentioning the name, dude, as you don't probably would. Okay, wolves once existed throughout his home state, but removal began shortly after European settlement. Currently, no established wolf population. However, due to close proximity to viable wolf population in Canada, as the closest to the home state, it's not impossible wolves could still live in that home state. But it's probably wolves that's walking around from neighbor states or even from Canada.
Mm.
So even though there's no official uh, wolf pack that lives in his home state, but it's actually possible that they might just simply walking. Let's say if there are wolves walking from Canada and passing through his home state and walking further. And how about in your home state if there are any wolves? That I do know there is.
Mm.
Woo! Wow. Estimate from last year, they estimate around 631 wolves, and a survey estimated 136 packs in a that roams in the northern part. Ooh, dang. Um, but how about bears in Game Guy's home state? Now that wolves where I live do in fact exist.
Oh goodness, honey.
I think it's about only a few. I believe there's only a few. I think it's about 40, maybe 50 wolves in the part where I live. Bears, its number is equal 0. Doesn't exist here. They used to, but they were but basically back a few hundred years ago, the past kings hunted a lot of bears and wolves, which was the biggest trophy hunts. So bears at that time were very common in these woods around where I live, but not anymore. There, if you want to find wild bears, you had to be in trouble a bit further up north, at least further upward, up for the country. But if you're in the most southern part of the country, don't expect to find any signs of bear. But wolves, yeah, that's one of the things.
Mm.
Bears, the only known species of bear that lives in the game guy's home state is black bears.
Mm.
But in Genga, in Michigan, oh, what bears found in Michigan? The only species that's been found is black bear. it's approximately 90% is calling that as oh, how about this? Are grizzly bears found in Michigan? Um, no,
I wouldn't particularly know.
no, there aren't any.
I know.
Um,
I know. I know we're used to having lots of deer around here.
yeah, uh, and since the grizzly only lives mostly part in Alaska, actually. Um, but I know for certain that there are bears or different species of bears in North America, like say black bear, brown bear, grizzly bear, Kodiak bear. But in my country, it's only one species, which is brown bear. Oh, I should not forgetting polar bears can also exist in your country, but only in the if are really rare cases of up in the northern parts of Alaska, because it actually has been a few cases of uh, grizzly polar bear hybrids. But how many bears lives in the world total? Ah, okay.
It wouldn't surprise me if there were over 30 to 40 species worldwide. Worldwide.
Apparently only eight.
Damn.
Only eight bears. How many bears is there in Sweden? Estimated as 2,800. But in Michigan,
That's a lot
let's.
of honey for them to go through.
Yep. But in Michigan, there is.
Out with it, chuckle butt.
12,000 actually. 10,000 lives in the upper peninsula, while the 2,000 live in the lower peninsula. And only black bears.
I'll be
And
right back.
how many lives in Game Guy's home state? Huh. They estimate over. This might be shocking. 6,000 bears in your home state, Game Guy. But it's probably just black bear or even both that and brown bear. But how many bears is there in the whole United States? Let's see. Whoa. Okay. Okay. They estimate between 250 and 300,000 bears in just in America alone. But it says uh, that this number, however, excludes the population from Texas, Mississippi, and Wyoming, whose population size are unknown. But how many grizzly bears is there in America? Whoa, 55,000. Uh, I may say I was saying that um, um, I may have to say when I said that grizzly bears only lived in Alaska, I may have to be withdraw that statement because it turned out they don't even used to live there. They only live in a few others. Like uh, grizzly population in the United States is limited to Alaska, Idaho, Montana, Washington, and Wyoming. So that's something. But how many black bears is there in the United States? Uh, um, it is estimated there are at least 600,000 black bears in North America. If you're, I think that they include Canada, but in United States they estimate over 300,000. So, well, that's a lot of bears. But how many, how many wolves is there in the U.S.? Ooh, about 7,500. Huh, look at that. And that in the lower 48 states. Uh, is there any bear species in Indonesia? I don't know if there's any. Um, let's go see here. Well, turned out there are actually bears in Indonesia as well. They're black in color and a little bit light white or light beige type. Hmm, look at that. Yeah, and having so many bears in just um, how many moose in the world? Oh, that might be something. Uh, what? Okay. The global population of moose is estimated to be around 1.5 million. That's a lot of moose. But how many in there is Sweden? Sweden has around 400,000. Oh boy. Yeah, about that. I believe moose hunt season is actually around start now, but luckily though, I don't hunt moose or any bear or any animals. I'm not a hunter for animals at all. Just I don't know. But how many moose in United States? Now that wow, 300,000. Okay. Um, how many moose is there in Russia? Wow, 500,000. And according to this, Russia's moose population is second only to Canada. Now that is a big moose population. Well, people will say moose is an animal that you probably won't be afraid of, but they are because apparently they kill a lot more people than you know. Like either you can be rushed on them, being stamped on, kicked, or even worse, those horns. So yeah, even moose, which is a plant-eating animal, can be very dangerous. But personally, I was actually one time very close to a moose with someone I used to know many years ago. But that was probably I think the distance was about uh I think the distance was about say 49 feet away, give or take. I just think it is that, but a little around 50 feet away from it. And when it saw us, it just took off. But bears, well, I had never seen anyone in real life, but oh, how many wild boars is there in my country? They estimate around how many wild boars in Sweden? Um, huh, about 300,000 according to this one. Yep, but how many in United States? Huh, there's probably holy crap. Well, the number of wild hogs or even wild boars in the United States may be as many as 9 million. That's A lot of wild pigs. Yikes. Well, hunters, you have a lot of work to do. Oh my goodness, my goodness. You know, I really would prefer to be encounter, I don't know, a moose rather than a wild boar, especially a
Right.
female with offsprings. That is dangerous. Well, that and if you encounter a bear with cubs, like that's even dangerous. I just no, I don't want to even. I don't want to mention that. How many uh game guy? Have you ever seen a lynx before? A lynx. I put the name there. They're basically a cat species. You could probably ask your parents if they ever heard of it. But apparently, it's a common species in America and Canada. They're basically like bobcats in the similar in appearance than how many left in the United States? Well, apparently only a few hundred. But how many lynx in Sweden? All I can say is, oh, 1,450. Huh, look at that. But yeah, um, I don't know what else to talk about. um, okay, just to be like randomly, how many Bigfoots in Michigan? Well, technically, it wouldn't even give any much response to that because since technically by scientific community, Bigfoot or Sasquatch doesn't exist. So, but I think the last time I looked at how many sightings of Bigfoot in Michigan alone was 225. And as for Game Guy's home state, last time I checked, it was actually only 17. Unless that number had increased. Let me check. That. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on. Nope. Still 17. Which their own version of a Bigfoot called Woods Devil. And even as the game guy actually mentioned this, that his own mom actually saw a Bigfoot a long time ago. And well, to be honest, I'm not actually a bit jealous about that. I would love to see a Bigfoot, even in a distant. Even find tracks of Bigfoot. Now that would have been impressive. But if I had to be honest, my family several times in the past used to call me Bigfoot. Not because I've been tall, but my feet are big. Like I'm the one that has the biggest feet in my family. Now that's insane.
Uh, guys,
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to go now. We've got 4 minutes until we gotta get to the steakhouse. So
All right.
All right, see you guys
See
later, I
ya.
guess. See ya.
See y'all.
Well, what else to do? And Malachite is still AFK there for a moment. I have no idea what he is doing. So, how is it over there in your country, though, Brony?
It was completely hot.
Well, I mean, it's a tropical country, so not very much excuse there. But in my country, it's getting colder. Like, it's not cold enough for snow or anything, but well, it is my part of the country. It's not any that, but if it were really up north, there's a good chance they have snow by now. But here, by this time of the month, not much. I only remember one time it actually snowed for my birthday, which is in October. But yeah, so that happened.
If the day is raining, I will be happy to be cold off.
Oh yeah, it had been raining a lot here this past few days, even yesterday, but just really rained. And even a couple of days before that, it was quite windy, like really windy. I was like, whoa, really? And today, well, it's just those decent, murky, or at least cloudy weather. And my mom said that there was supposed to be rain in the afternoon, and sure enough, it rained. And I even took a walk in the rain, even though I used an umbrella. But like, it wasn't like pouring down; it was just a light rain, though. Sometimes, like that, weather can change quickly. In one moment, the weather can be just cloudy, and next it can be, I don't know, big pouring down, or yeah. But I wouldn't mind go to a country that are in a tropical zone like New Zealand, for example. They had this very little different climates, or at least environments there. Mountains with snow on top of them, rainforests, and it's a beautiful country. This might surprise you. Even in Africa, there is this Mount Kilimanjaro, which has snow on top. And that country is a lot of warm temperature, but it's not impossible for snow to actually appear in those places that's really uncommon. Like in deserts, like Sahara Desert or anything like that, it can rain there, but it's not much. I actually saw this on the news. Well, I think it was last week, or was it 2 weeks ago? That in my country's capital, there was this a lot of fog, but that fog was actually made from sand from Sahara, has blown all the way from Sahara Desert and all the way up here. I was like, wow, not the first time that happened, but uh, I mean, if you want to live in a dry place, go ahead, but don't expect to find a lot of water. That even in Sahara, there are a few oases, and don't expect to be that can support a big population of people around them. They won't. Yeah, really sand. I I would like to want to go to a place that is decent warm enough, but like Australia, maybe. But even though that country is mostly sand, about Australia, there are some places there that are sacred to the native people. And if you're a woman and you come across one of those sites or those sacred grounds, you would be immediately picked up by the natives and just taken away. Like not like kidnapping or anything, just they would take you away from that place because, in their beliefs, some sacred grounds are completely forbidden for any women to even be near. It's their belief system. Same thing as for like otherwise. Then some places that even men aren't allowed to go to either, and some places in Australia that you need to ask that local tribe in that area for permission to go on your land. And yeah, otherwise like that, it's not that like, oh yeah, go ahead. But if you're looking for gold, a lot of people actually start looking for gold or gold mining in some part of Australia. But like I said, a lot of places that actually still under the rule of those the Native Australians, and you need their permission for mining that. If you don't, well, I don't know what they would do, but it's it wouldn't be pretty, not at all. It's you had to respect other cultures, their laws, their rules, and they're like that. It is. I mean, it's the same thing as um. I remember I did saw this story on TV. Oh, not that long ago. During the Second World War, people, or at least Japanese, when they controlled the Philippines, one of the Japanese generals, I think his name was Hidamato or something like that. He, according to the legend, he stored a huge treasure scattered across the island or the country there, and I believe it was in the 80s. This this shop owner he came across a cave and he literally found wood boxes contained by malachite. They contained gold bars and even found a golden Buddha statue, and that statue contained diamonds. I don't think there was like if there were cut diamonds or uncut diamonds, but after this, um, I think at the time was the president Rodrigo. When he came to the news of this man had found this treasure, he sent the secret police, to literally attack this man's home, grab him, and put him in prison, and demand to know where he found this and confiscate all the treasure that he found. And the man's family demanded that they release him, and then with some help, they managed to do this. But they even got back some of the things that they're stolen, but the gold bars was somehow poof vanished. And it's also the golden Buddha. That was the only thing they only get back, but the diamonds inside was completely empty. So, and still to this day, some people claim that they can be much more of that stolen gold that the Japanese stored on the island, or even other places in part of the Pacific Ocean. I believe that even Indonesia was one point part of the Japanese Empire, or at least the control during the war. But I would not be surprised if the Japanese forces hid some of the treasure in somewhere in Indonesia. But where to look? Now that is a difficult part. You know, since a lot of rainforest there, you have to account for any kinds of things like the predator animals, like any dangerous animals, spiders, snakes, and other things that can be dangerous. And I should mention those treasure hunts that people have found of Japanese treasure from the World War II are often booby trapped. I literally booby trapped with either landmines or even poison gas. So yeah, that's another thing you don't want to just mess around with. And even with speaking of treasure of from World War II, I don't know if this is a very common knowledge, but during the war, Germans they collected a lot of golds, other valuables like gemstones, gold, and perhaps even as paintings of from real good paintings, and stored that in a train cart. And they put the cart inside a tunnel, and they literally blow up the entrance from both ends to completely bury this train. And it's known now as the gold train. The train itself was not made of gold, but what is contained is what these people assume that they has been looking for. People have been looking for that treasure since uh, well, um, for almost 80 years. For about 78 years, some people claim to actually found gold treasure. Um, I saw this one TV show. This guy, the TV host, he had a PhD in archaeology. He went to Germany, and one other explorer, he claimed that he had found this supposed underground German lab for experimental weapons, but they were stopped probably halfway down because they had this uh, devices that were counting radioactivity. And as they were getting this high, well, they was getting a little bit at some distance. I think it was halfway down. Those counters started beeping a lot faster because at that time, if they had been keep pushing there deeper down, they would have exposed themselves for high level deadly radiation. So they had to go backwards. That dangerous they were. They probably just maybe just 3 or 4 feet below above that supposed tunnel or supposed secret experimental lab. Because even like during the World War II, the Germans they were developing their own atomic weapon, or at least atomic bomb. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. They were unsuccessful in developing it, but they managed, otherwise, to develop the first rocket, the V2 rocket, and even the first jet plane. Hitler wanted to use that jet engine on those planes to carry the bombs to bomb UK and other parts of, but this is a slight problem with that. If they did, the bombs would even hit the exact target. They will miss the target. The bomb would have missed the target not by a few feet. It would be at least uh, it could have been, I believe, almost with 1.5 mile off the target because the jet engine was going too fast. So that idea was scrapped. And the other thing is during the war, just I think it was 1940, just beginning of the war, um, Hitler had given orders to developing new type of technologies like weapons or anything like it, but mostly experimental weapon program. But I believe it was in the late 1940 when Hitler gave the order to shut down the weapon program entirely because he believed that he could win the war with the weapons that he already had. But to his astonishment, that those weapons were actually outdated, as as the Allied forces, like at the time before it happened, was only UK and others. They developed their own weapons. They were developing new weapons and all that. Even when America joined in the war, they developing new weapons, new technologies, new tanks, and so so Hitler realized near the end of the war they had to developing new weapons, but it was too late. If they had continued from the beginning of the war, they may probably could have been beating the Allied forces in the war, but the Germans they didn't. Another thing was that Hitler actually also made a big mistake during the early in the war, in especially in America and in England, they had women to work in factories to to manufacture bombs, ammunition, and other things that since the men were out in the war, so the women, their wives, sisters, or like that, they took over the roles. Like they took care of operated telephones, working in factories, and all that. Same thing is in America. They did the same thing, but in America, like in Germany during the war, Hitler forbade any women to work in any such things. Only people like men, but most of the men were out in the war. So they used war prisoners, political prisoners that they had captured in the war to put in factories. But just near the end of the war, um, Hitler allowed a small amount of women to work, but mostly as nurses, telephone operators, and even as guards at those concentration camps. But that was a small amount because, in his opinion, women should stay at home to raise the children. Another most, I don't think this is a very common in, I don't know most people know this, but during the war, um, there were special places around in Europe, like mostly in Germany, were focused on to create more of the so-called Aryan race or the master race by having SS guards or soldiers to take multiple different women to and make them pregnant so they can have children of that was blonde hair, blue eyed, because that, in their opinion, was the master race. It's it actually happened, and even to this day, it can be still some of those children still alive. And another thing is that if you were if you were to have to be part of the SS guard, one of the elite guards, you had to be at least around um I think you had to be um you had to be at least 5'7" or 5'8" in height and blonde hair and blue eyes. And your family had to be in pure German blood, at least I think it was 3 or 7 generations backwards. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been allowed. And of course, there are some rumors that's saying that even Hitler wasn't pure German blood. Some claim that he was actually part Jewish, but it's impossible to tell if they were German, if he was even even if he was part Jewish. But people like, well, why don't they just assume that? Why don't they take a DNA of his bones or something? Well, here's the thing: no one knows where his body or the bones are. After that, the Russians attacked the bunker. Most of the people there was burned to bad condition. In one room, they found two. One had a bullet hole in his skull, which consists of how Hitler did kill himself. His wife, Eva Braun, killed herself with a poisoned cyanide pill, but he shot himself. And that in that skull where they found a bullet hole, that was taken back to Russia like a trophy or something. But for years, they all believed that was Hitler. But later on, a DNA test was taken of that skull and turned out it was a female, not a male. So that was not Hitler. So they assuming that could been Eva Braun. But the only way to prove it is to have a test that skull's DNA with a living relative to Eva Braun. There is, as far as I know, only one living relative from Eva Braun's family, but that's it, which also is a female, a woman, but she refused to have any testing of her DNA because she doesn't want to have nothing to do with that. So this day, no one knows if that skull is Hitler or even Eva Braun. So it's hard to tell. But then, around after, I believe it was by the end of 1940s and early 1950s, there were a lot of rumors that Hitler didn't even die, that in fact he faked his suicide and that he was much alive in South America. Because I saw this show called Hunting Hitler. They were, of course, they weren't even literally hunting him because if he was been alive, he would have been over 100 years old by that point. But they tracked down any potential routes, ways that he could have been escaping from Germany to South America, and it was plausible that he could, because in his mind he could have been restart the Fourth Reich, not the Third. That he would start the Fourth Reich in South America. And in fact, there are some towns there that mainly has strong German population. But it's the possibility of, in my opinion, that Hitler survived the war and that he escaped, very, very unlikely. I mean, even that we can't be actually certain that he did survive, even if he did plan for the Fourth Reich, it's impossible to tell if he did survive or not. There isn't even a movie where somehow Hitler woke up in modern day Germany in Berlin. And that spot when he woke in that spot when he woke up used to be the bunker that he'd supposed died in. And to his astonishment that Germany, that the so-called Third Reich had fallen, and all of his ideas and ideology to that the master race should rule the world have failed, and that now multiple different that Germany, especially Berlin, was a multicultural society from people from around the world, like some from like different parts of Spain, or like part of Europe, even South America, even Asia, living in one city. He felt a bit weirded out, at least. But the thing is, how is it even possible that he woke up in suddenly in a modern day um, Berlin? The thing is, no one knows. It was a movie, but it was weird. And another movie that I did see were somehow the Nazis had survived on the moon's backside, like on the dark side, in a some sort of in a moon base, and they've been living there since by the end of the war. And the second movie that made out afterwards revealed that Hitler was still pretty much alive, but he was living in a it's called hollow earth, meaning deep underground, and the entrance was in Antarctica. The funny thing is, he wasn't even human. He was a reptilian. He was a humanoid reptile creature. And he was riding. Okay, the funny part is that he was riding on a freaking T Rex as if it was like a horse. And that T Rex name was Blondie. The fact is that Hitler actually had a German Shepherd named Blondie. And the sad thing about his dog, he gave the dog a cyanide pill to test the pill if it actually worked. So he literally killed his own dog to test the pill. And that is cruelty. I cannot even imagine that. I mean, life like is as back then was hard. Even in my country, it was very difficult that during the time. A lot of a lot of things like foods things when it comes to like food items like coffee, something like that, it was limit. They had this small ration uh, coupons where you had to be in, that you can only go to a store and buy a certain amount of coffee, tea, and other during the World War II. And of course, a lot of people did raided farmers' places for because they believed that they were harvesting or at least hoarding some of the food that they could bring for themselves. And even cars, normal cars like with gasoline, they were literally forbidden to be used because oil was used for something else. So people had been people could still drive the cars, but they had to convert the cars into a different power source of fuel. They had this small cart on the behind the car itself, which contained a fire. They were burning wood as the fuel. It was crazy story, but it's true. And yeah, I was like, what the? But it was hard times. A lot of people starved, and in fact, even Sweden at the time was a neutral country, which it still is. Well, that will change if we joined NATO, this defense alliance. If we do, we will lose our neutrality. So, but that time, a lot of children from across Europe, including from my neighbor countries, Finland, came over here during the war because they were refugee children, including one of those would eventually become my future paternal grandmother, my dad's mom. She was one of those refugees, and I to tell you, it's I cannot even imagine the life that she had going through. First came to Denmark, but then came to Sweden, and after the war was over, she moved back home. Eventually, she met my grandfather, and they started a family. And even my great grandfather, he served during the World War II, especially in the Winter War. He he if anyone had asked him about the war of his experience, he probably would even say much at all. But from what my dad told me, he had made a lot of friends. Some of them that some friends that he had known for a long time and new friends during the war. But seeing some of his old and new friends being killed during the war changed him, affected him much. I mean, it's understandable, especially if you're in the war with someone you had known for such maybe from your entire childhood until adult life, and suddenly being killed in front of you, or even heard that he had been killed, or even perhaps even if you had a brother served in the war with you and your instance being killed, how do you don't think that that would affect you much at all? It's horrifying. But the Winter War wasn't just against the Germans. The Finland people was actually fought against the Russians. Well, at least the Finnish people had an advantage. They used skis in order to move around during the winter, and they were more equipped better than Russians did. I mean, first they knew the terrain much better than the Russians did, so and eventually After the war was over, they just went back to this normal. And if World War II had even happened, all those major events that would eventually happen after the war and even today wouldn't have happened. Like some of the countries in like Africa and even in Asia would have been declared themselves as independent may not have it. Because I know for certain like this that Indonesia during the war and even before the war belonged to the British Empire, meaning they weren't even as an independent country. If the Second World War it didn't happen, Indonesia may still had been as British control for much longer, since they declared themselves as independent. Sometimes I believe almost in 1945 or 48. That was sometimes in the 40s, but and a lot of countries like say in in uh, in Europe, for example, neighbor countries of mine, neighbor to mine, they may have still belonged to Russia, and this so-called the Berlin Wall may not have even been built, and the Cold War may not have even had happened. And who knows, maybe space exploration would have been delayed for many years because it was until 1957 when that happened. It's like what if scenarios? There's no way to say exactly what how the world would have looked like if the Second World War had even happened. But I can guarantee one thing: the population number would have been much higher today because during the war, I believe it was around 40 or 50 million people that died. Soldiers, civilians, all together was around that number. And if those people didn't die, the number today from instead for just 8 billion, we could have been maybe close to 8.5 or perhaps even 9 billion by now. And I don't know. It's just a speculation on my end, but it's possibility at least on that. And honestly, I don't know what the world would be like if we never actually had the Second World War. Hey, even the First World War had even happened, there wouldn't have been much of that either. And even as the late Albert Einstein stated that um, he said the fourth World War would have been fought by wood and sticks because he believed that in the Third World War we would use nuclear weapons, and that if we survived the Fourth World War, we would just been using sticks and stones as weapons. But honestly, though, no one knows if the Third World War was going to happen. That was then the Cold War happened when both Russia, aka Soviet, and America had both access to nuclear weapons. And it was a very tense moment that each side could start a nuclear war. And the outcome of that, well, I don't know. I don't know how this outcome can be. Like it's impossible to tell. There are multiple scenarios that how the world can have been like, but it's like if John F. Kennedy, a president in U.S. history, he was assassinated in 1962. If he wasn't killed 1962, and if he didn't win election, it's hard to tell how the world been like. And even if there is one series, a TV series that's called The Man in the High Tower, that was like showing a potential how the world could have looked like if the Germans did win the war. Half of America was belonged to the to the Third Reich or to Nazis, and the other half of the country belonged to Japanese Empire. But only one stream of land was a neutral zone. And at the time in that series, Hitler was still much alive, but he was just started developing Alzheimer's and all. He was even killed one of his own people. But that series was set to take place in 1965, I believe, so 20 years after the war was over. So yeah, if that happened, it's possibility. I mean, people always assume, what if there's someone go back in time to kill Hitler before even he was born or even before he even started war? Well, it's impossible to tell the outcome of any of that. The it predictions can be many things that you could just predict something could happen, but the true fact is you never can tell to 100% as a true prediction how the world would look out. As like I said, if the war didn't happen, Indonesia was still being under control of the British Empire for longer, and maybe they would have declared themselves as independent, or another country could take it over. Maybe I don't know. Let's say if Japan came and took over Indonesia entirely for them, and the thing is, even we, as we are now, like me and Brownie or other or the people our friends from where we live, may not even be born. If Germans had win the war, I may not even been here because my family from my mom's side it says that Swedish people are considered as part of this Aryan race or the master race. But my dad's side of family is from Finland, and they are not considered as not a part of the Aryan race. So if that son of family would have been killed or maybe wiped out or at least erased from the time during the war or even after the war, I would have been here at all. So people can always make a lot of scenarios of like what if the world had looked like if the Second World War had ended by the Germans did win. I mean, okay, what if that the Germans didn't win, but what if the Russians decided to go against? Well, I mean, what if like the Germans wouldn't be our only threat, since the Russians were part of the Allied forces? But what if the Russians decide to go break off from the alliance and be a separate force and start to attack both the Allied and the other forces, being separate and like a third forces? They wanted to be controlling most of Europe themselves and perhaps even rest of the world. It's impossible to tell either. And many people, even historians, can have made their own speculations how the world kind of looked like. And it's different. It's very different. I mean, I even listened to this fictional story once that was called. Oh, Coda Lane is here. One fictional story where modern man actually was extinct, and that um, at least in Europe was under control of the Neanderthals. But that was just one of those official fictional stories. But still, all right, Cody. How did it go? How did the bowling go? Oh, that's good. Yeah, we have just randomly talking around most part here. Hmm. Bringing Grugar back in your movie. Well, not a bad idea. Not a bad idea either. You know, you see, if you would have been doing your Dora on MLP movie for to be broadcast on the TV or even movie theaters, if Hasbro would have found out, well, you would have been a heavier a lawsuit on your butt. It's not good. You would have been probably end up being forced to pay, say maybe I don't know, a few $1 million in a fine of that, court things like that. It's not worth it. Well, I mean, it could have been much more. It could have been much more that just saying it could have been, but there's always possibility in that. Um, but doing it as on YouTube, if you're using fan made design, if you had people make the drawings for you, I mean, first, Cody, if you've had people that drawn fan, if they drawn the characters on their own, even like say if they made scenes of a rarity as, but you had seen, did you see Bride of Discord and Daughter of Discord, right? Yeah, and since Bride of Discord is basically are using official characters like Discord, Fly the Shine, and others, and they were no problems in that. So if you were having people that drawn the characters on as fan made drawings, scenes like they you had in mind based on this from the script, that would have been completely fine. It's no problem at all. No risk for any copyrights. But if you use scenes from the actual show, like the movie or anything like that, that could have been it was a big risk that could have been copyright. And I'm talking from my own experience because you know, it's it happened to me. A dragon's mark or a dragon's courage. Mm, I think the second option is more as a better option, to be honest. Though, um, if you were to hire people to draw the scenes from the movie and even came up with the songs, would you even hire people to sing the songs? Like if there's going to be a duet or something like that? If you were to do that, hire people to make this drawing the scenes in the movie and have voice actors and even maybe have different people as if you were going to have Reddy as Spike's voice actor to sing, or even had two different people to doing the singing songs, the singing scenes, and have two others as the regular voices, you may have to figure out one thing. Well, true. I mean, if you were to put have songs in the movie where they actual singing, I mean, if you did, you probably would have to think like if I had to, you may have to like say, figure out if you're like, do I know someone who's actually good in singing, and do I know someone who's actually good in drawing like something like that, uh, and something like that. And if you were like that, then you probably would have to like, how do I pay them, or if they're willing to pay. Mm, yeah, honestly, though, Cody, that might be a little risky. I can tell as for example, even though I did use songs in my old videos with the actual singing, like even from one of the Kung Fu Panda, the furry movie, which I did receive the copyright on eventually. So, mm, but here's another thing: is you probably could make your own music, even if it's just instrumental. You see, someone actually in the past made songs for my videos. They were only like background music, no songs in it. But if and he used an app, I think it was on his phone to make that. So that could save you with some problems like that. But I would just if you would be using the instrumental songs from Princess of Trixie, you may have to ask the creator of that series first of permission, because if Magpie Pony find out you used her songs or in the music in your story in your movie, she would have been not happy with that, because you can like just claiming that if you said like, oh, that's this is my song, or you use the song without her permission, that's a bad idea. She could sue you, or she could put in a claim of a copyright. So that's just one of the things that happens. And as you know, I had that problem in the past myself, because the friend that I told you about who made the songs did make the songs for my videos, and at some point I received copyright, despite the person claimed this I believe an agency claimed that part of the song belonged to their clients. But the fact couldn't have been that, because now those music was actually made by a person using an app on his phone. But now I'm using songs from YouTube's own sound library that's basically completely free to use, which has saved me. If I knew about it, that actually existed a long time ago, I probably be used that much. But I'm just saying it's right now you probably would, if you would use Magpie Pony's instrumental music for your own projects like that, you probably would first at least telling or at least ask for permission. Otherwise, you could have been giving much, you know, a copyright. Hmm. Um. You know, Cody, as an advice, if you were to make to use songs like from Magpie Pony or someone that, or as you said that your mom's, your stepfather's son, your stepbrother, if he could help that, my advice is to imagine to which type of song you want to use as, or at least the sound of instrumental music for each scene. Just like say Aladdin. When this when Aladdin took Jasmine for the carpet for the first ride on the carpet, a whole new world. If you put something like that in a scene where Spike and where Spike and Red just singing together, or at least having a romantic moment, you could probably have that part in the scene. And if you're having a scene of where maybe if someone is trying to be, rude, or perhaps even someone, a bad guy, approaching Rarity or even kidnapping her, and having maybe some scene part of the section of the music as, like this dramatic type of sound effect. And if there were to be a battle scene or fight scene in the movie, you could probably have that as well, something like that's more fitting for as an action. That's my idea that you can do, because if you use the same song throughout the entire movie, it's would not be the same. Because if you're adding fight scenes and you've had uh, instrumental music that would fit as a fighting scene, that will increase the trauma, the feeling in the movie that for the viewers watching it. I'm just saying it's because that is the basically 101 in comes to make a movie or story. Even though I myself and I make some of the stories myself when I don't have, I could add music and something like that, but I haven't. I tried, but it didn't work out as much. What I'm saying is this: it's probably have when you're using one scene that's of romance, having something that would fit as a romantic scene, and then having one that's if it would be an action scene, or even let's say if Spike were having um having a scene where he would be having a race against Rainbow, you having this type of intense music in the background. It's more like that, more it's like a, if you know this, thrill emotion, or like a date. Um, I mean, there's possibility in that. You know, people are like, "Oh yeah, this simple to make a movie," but uh, those people might just, they, if they knew how wrong it is. 10 songs in mind. Oh, now that's a big number of songs. But did you know? Have you thought of how long the movie's gonna be? Uh, doing by it being like a precise, or just in mind you had it thought of like an hour, 2 hours, 20 hours? Yeah, probably. But I may have to say maybe a little bit longer, maybe an hour, 20 minutes, something like that. Just a bit, maybe just a bit longer. It doesn't have to be in a 1.5, but maybe 1 hour, 15 minutes, or yeah, perhaps 2 hours. It depends, of course. You know, did you have any thoughts of doing a sequel to that one if that would happen? Maybe they come to that. Who knows? Because I kind of made a movie myself a long time ago. Um, I think this was actually around 2015, 2016. This was actually when I first started doing my stories. I did put them as part one, part two, but then I did put all the parts as one video. And they went up to a 1 hour long. Um, it's I would say I would just say it would have been one of my best works. To be honest, it was still early on when I first started doing my stories, and I was just so proud how the work ended up in like. And as for my own series, all the dramas I've done, um, say daughter, Discord Sig daughter, a fairy life between where Spike and have fallen in love with Twilight, and since they were considered as siblings or anything, or so, it's. I mean, those stories were probably one of my best work, but this one I'm currently working on, Dark Nova's Revenge, it's gonna be a lot more drama, action, um, romance, and all that in it. But I can say, reveal one of the last scenes in chapter 6 is that Spike is nearly, or well, not say nearly, but more is barely alive, because this Dark Nova used to be a unicorn, but she sacrificed by using a spell of immortality to become immortal. But that in the process, she lost her physical body, so she became like Sombra. She was like a shadow. So in that sense, so if she took possession of Spike's body as a new host, and if she would have made the full, complete taking over his body, that all the thing we know of Spike would have ceased to exist. His brain would have been completely hers. All the things in his brain that would have been Spike completely gone. But they managed to pull out of her of Spike's body, and but he was so weak. If I think it's, I would say maybe just barely been even alive. He had a pulse, but it was very weak. He could have died. So this in the by the end of the stat chapter, they send him to Crystal Empire for the treatment because Twilight reveals that they had this specialized facility in Crystal Empire that can has in special healing abilities. And I mean, it would have been it's impossible if Crystal Empire actually has that. I mean, who knows? But also that Celestia and Luna told Twilight and Starlight there was a spell that could remove Dark Nova from any pony's body that she took possession of, and like just drag her out. And Twilight was told that it was dangerous if you used the spell twice. Even if he was a regular unicorn, it would have been dangerous. She wouldn't have died or anything, just more as she would have been like in a coma or something. And but since she was an alicorn, her magical ability was much stronger. So, but she used the spell twice, and even though she knew the risk, she was barely herself being. I mean, she didn't fall in coma or anything. Just she was very exhausted. She was really almost drained of her energy. She did survive all that she needed a few days of rest. Spike, in the end, did survive. Um, I can tell that in chapter 8 is, which I hadn't even worked on yet, he and Rarity are getting married. And chapter 9 is when they decide to start a family. And the whole series is set to take place 5 years after that Twilight became the new ruler. Basically, it's kind of since we know in the CG4 when Twilight was became the ruler as young. So from that story, my new art series was going to be taking place like 5 years from that moment when she was still young. So 5 years after that, and not when Rarity is older. So sometimes 5 years after that, it's a takes place, and they had even been together for 5 years in that time, only for two. Rarity was very much how to say she started to cry when Spike asked or at least confessed his feelings for her. And yeah, it's probably gonna be my best work so far. As I don't know though, but it might be one of my best work. And yeah, it's people may think, oh, it's just easy to make a new auto series. It might be so. I mean, if like just look at um, Magpie Pony and I mean they have or Disney Fanatic 2364. They have multiple scenes in a story, but I don't. I mean, if I knew how to draw like that good, I would have done. But I just only one same picture all over, and just record the story. And each this current chapters is between 20 21 to almost 28 minutes long each. I don't know when the Dark Nova's Revenge will be uploaded on my channel. At the moment, it's um uh, it's hard to tell. I still have to work on the last three chapters, and but it's gonna be each one's gonna be an uploaded on a Friday. So, but I would say maybe give a guess around maybe around by the end of October, and maybe it's early November. It's not the same as exact precise though, but um like to that to know what the songs like to at least know what songs you yeah what songs did you had in mind to use in your movie though. Song one Equestria now better. uh Happily Ever After, is that oh that song? Yeah, because the title it mm, it comes something else come to mind. There is one Snow White movie that has the same title, but that was that came to my mind. um, I seen a Stevie University movie. It was mm, not too bad. I mean, didn't see much of from the whole series, but I did see the last one they did when that's take place after the movie. That I did see. Number two, from Shrek the Musical. Mm, I ain't even heard that one. I mean, I hadn't even seen the musical. Speaking of Shrek, there's gonna be a new movie on Shrek, Shrek 5. But Donkey is not happening to be appearing in it. Fiona? Nope, not either. It's supposed about being Spike, as Shrek when he moved through swamp. So Kung Fu Panda 4. Well, be honest, I seen the first, second, and the third, and yeah, probably to say the first was best of all of them. Second, uh, let's say 50-50. Third, uh, I wrote the same thing, 50-50. Yeah, as it's very common that most movies that have a sequel usually is uh terrible. Well, depends on which, first of all, which franchise and which movie it is. I can give one example. Friday 13, when Jason Voorhees, the last one they made, Jason X. Oh boy, oh boy, I don't tell you, that movie sucked so bad. I saw it like twice. It's or at least once, but it was so bad. Even though I never saw any of the original ones, I hadn't even seen any of the Halloween with Michael Myers, the original, and not even the reboot. And I hadn't even seen um, any of the Terrors at Elm Street with Freddy Krueger at all. Probably seen just one scene of one of those movies. Which one? Don't know. Um, I did see one movie that's based on the franchise of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That movie was so boring. I fast forward the whole freaking movie. I was like, I know that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is supposed to be a classical, but this one, I'll tell you, it was so boring. I mean, these days horror movies are just so bad. I mean, they call themselves horror. Pfft, yeah, right. Well, there's one franchise I never, never in my life gonna watch, and that is Saw franchise at all. That is a movie or horror torture movie. It goes beyond my even reasonable mind to even to watch. Scream on its Scream franchise is I can see. Sadly, I've only seen like four of the first movies though. Since Sydney didn't appear in the recent ones either, and that they somehow decided to kill off the sheriff or deputy sheriff, the guy that's the word from the first movie, in the last one they did, in the sixth movie, I was like, are you kidding me? Even though he was supposed to have been killed off in the first movie, anyways. But the fans loved him, so why? Kung Fu Panda 4. I do wonder what's going to happen in that series, in that movie, though. Based on like Kung Fu Panda, the new series on Netflix, the one when Poe travels along with a bear from England. Wow. Um, I probably seen just one or two episodes from that series, and honestly, though, it really wasn't much for what I liked as much as it didn't really fit much as the last as the movie itself. But yeah, probably not what I might to say. I prefer just simply say I prefer the movies itself, especially in the second movie where we sing um, Poe's backstory, how where he was from, about his family, and he fought against the Peacock as the prince. Now that was epic battle. I tell you that much. Number two, number four, wish to be. Do you mean number three or number four? Because the second song is in my heart, and number four, like you probably skip one. Ah, all right. uh, Grugar's Plan song. Ooh, be prepared from Lion King. Now that, now that is a song I really enjoyed. Oh boy, that was a good song from that movie. The first Lion King was epic. I haven't seen the live action version of it, but not the intention even to do either. So people just don't tell me to do it. I hadn't even seen The Little Mermaid, as it's now revealed that Moana is going to have a live action version that's 2025, and next year, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Even Robin Hood, Hunchback, Sword and Stone is a few of the movies there's gonna be a live action for. I was like, really? Oh yeah, well, go ahead, ruin all the classical movies, in my opinion. Like you're really killing them. Though Pinocchio is live action I haven't seen either. And no, that's a movie I never in my life have no intention to even to watch. Reason? Well, I didn't like much of the live action versions of it all. And having different version of that movies, it's just that. But there is actually one Pinocchio movie which is not made by Disney, but it's called Pinocchio and the Emperor of Night, which is a different version of where he is still as his sort of continued from his as a human boy. He eventually would encounter a female doll. By the end, she actually end up as a living girl. But the thing is, in that movie, is the Blue Fairy wouldn't be able to help Pinocchio if he needed help because her powers was weak. Not because that she is a weak character or anything. It's just her powers was getting weaker because there's this evil how I was saying spirit or anything like a ghost, but it's like a something between like a ghost or like that. The Emperor of Night, a dark, pure dark, malicious character. When he grows stronger, Blue Fairy when grows weaker. But he managed to eventually become defeated completely, and the Blue Fairy was restored as full power. So, and to be honest, you can actually see that movie on YouTube. I somehow recommend to even watch that. If you like some of the classical movies of Disney, and even though this one isn't made by Disney itself, It's still a good movie. And number 6 song, My Love for Spike, sang by Rarity, that distant shore from Disney Universe. Well, I don't think. I don't think I actually saw that. Now that depends from which season it is. Number 2, let's go see. What should it be from Shrek? Number 7 song, You Can't Beat Me. Um, you you just can't win. Pokemon Live. Uh, that's actually I've never even heard of Pokemon Live, unless that's a reference to Detective Pikachu. But otherwise, I never heard of Pokemon Live. I don't think so. Let me see what it is. Pokemon Live. Uh, nope. Still never heard of it, even though that wasn't released that long ago. Well, when it comes to Pokemon and like that, still a lot of things I haven't heard of. Pokemon Live, not much. But speaking of Pokemon, I'm actually looking forward to see this the new series, uh, Horizon series, where Liko and Roy is the new characters. And so far, there hadn't even been any English translation of those episodes of as far as I know. But I would say maybe, but sometimes before the end of the year, or maybe it's early next year, there might be. And I know that it's still I would say terrifying, but it's pretty still heartbreaking that Ash was retired from the show. It's I mean, he had been a part of the show for over 20 years. And now, out of the blue, Pokemon Company decided to simply to retire Ash and Pikachu and bring new main characters. I was like, I have no idea. This was very much pretty much the same thing when Hasbro decided to end G4 and bring it to G5. It's it's basically the same thing. It's basically the same thing. Only the difference is that now even though G5 is going to end soon by end of the year, and next year they will just continue G5, but as Tell Your Tale on YouTube, I was like, why? You ended G4 just after nearly 10 years, and G5 is going to replace it, but it and now they decide to end Make You Mark and just simply go on from that. And I was like, Make You Mark hasn't even been that much around. It's just that. And since the next chapter 6, will be released in uh, November 23rd, which is a first day, will only be 2 episodes in one feature movie and the final one. And as in chapter 5, we can see dragons while in a sleep. Those dragons are based on the European design of the dragons there. So, but the dragons that make you mark is the chapter 5 when we finally see some more dragons, but they're still in a deep sleep. But I can tell this. In the latest episode of Tell Your Tale from of MLPG 5, we can actually see the main the main 5 going to Dragonlands, and they actually interacted with 3 dragons. and who is awake, and they somehow celebrate their version of Nightmare Night, and they became part of the dragon's tribe. I was like, whoa, 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 back off, back up. Chapter 6 hasn't even been released yet, and they decide to release an, a, sort a spoiler part of that the dragon's now awake. I do wonder for one reason. Because we know now that the main five, their main mission is going to Dragonlance to wake up the dragons and warn them about Opalin's attempt, but steal their magic as well, as she did with Sparky's. But here's the thing when I wonder to know how they will react when they see ponies in their home. Since dragons had even been seen, uh, since basically the dragons has almost been totally forgotten as a species itself. Well, unless that Argal had researched and even told stories about them to his daughter Sunny, and I mean Sunny made a statement that dragons hadn't even been seen in Equestria for generations. So, and I did read up more about that, and turned out that the dragons, um, they they were friends with the pony kind during the time of rule of Twilight, but turned out after Opalin's attempt to steal the magic during the during the time of Twilight's ruling, they cut they cut contact with the pony kind altogether because they were afraid that they would be the next target. So after that, they left. And as we're seeing in G4, Dragonlance is barely havable for any other creatures other than dragons. But in G5, it had been transformed. Ever since the dragons were end up being a deep sleep after the magic vanished, Dragonlance had started to develop a new type of environment. They started to be more like lush rainforest type. So I do wonder how the dragon's reaction would be when they encounter the main five on Dragonlance. And I really is still wondering what's gonna happen in the by the end of the two last chapter, the last chapter of those two episode and feature movie. But one thing I do know for certain that's gonna happen: Opaline will get her butt kicked. Good time. But what will happen? Well, it's hard to tell. It's it's really difficult to tell right now what's gonna happen. I mean, um, but but I do tell this, even though I don't know when it's gonna happen, but it's gonna be a trailer or a sneak peek of chapter 6 sometime perhaps by the end of the month on my channel. Not my channel, but on YouTube, since they kind of did that when chapter 5 was even before it was even released. And boy, do we have someone else showed up.
It's been too long.
It has been too long. It has been like what, 10 years? Yes, kidding.
No, it's fine.
Oh, so what you been up to, Stormy?
I've been up to cross country. I think I've been up to choir. I've been up to school. I've been up to other obligations that made me too busy to be able to come on here for a while.
Nah, that's fine. We know. School always takes a lot of work and other things. Are you still in the school choir or anything like that before?
Yeah, I still am. I did make it again, so
That's cool. Yeah, I didn't do much. Game guy was here, but well, technically he was just muted for most since he is not home with his family or just a vacation.
my
So
bro's in a hotel right now. It's I can already imagine.
Well, true. I mean, they went to see. I think they were at Niagara Falls. I haven't been there myself, but if I would, definitely. I mean, it's impressive featured. Like, and those falls are just not one single waterfall. It's actually three of them altogether. So how's school for you though? Still being bullied by anyone?
No, I'm good.
Nah, that's good. Last time when you were bullied by a teacher, well, that was harsh. Yeah, that's just. I don't know if most people know, but Stormy was bullied by a teacher for a few months
Oh yeah,
in the past. That was
that was
at
interesting.
least, well, be glad that you were at least bullied by the teacher, but not like physical harm like I was.
Yeah,
I mean, my teacher broke my arm when I was in the third grade. Like, sheesh, that was pretty horrifying, but yeah, as it is. Uh, how how's the weather there over there in your state?
for one, it was still hot for a while with 90s and 100s.
Real seriously?
Yeah, but then it then cooled down just a couple days ago. It's cooled down here.
Hmm.
We've
Well,
been spared.
we have around 50 degrees right now.
Yeah, it's about like 7. It's about 69, 70 here.
Well, there's only a matter of time before it gets zero and below zero.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what would you do if there was winter in your state or in your country for a whole year?
We declare a state of emergency.
Well, I mean, unless we enter a new ice age, then those emergency probably would even have much effect.
Bro, we literally declare state of emergencies for one in.
Well, I think maybe that there are some requirements that would go to that far. I mean, depend of course of how long the winter lasts and how cold it's gonna be, and if there's any snowstorms. No,
State of
not that,
emergency.
because where I live, we don't even have any such things as state emergency. I mean,
I
we
love
usually
that.
don't. Yeah, we usually don't even have much that snow where I usually live. Cold temperature? Uh, barely. Sometimes it's just above zero, above zero, and sometimes below zero. But we had a few occasions that were really cold. Like, I think the coldest that I can remember uh, was about negative 13 degrees.
Huh. That's
That was
cold.
the really coldest. Yeah, but normally we don't have that type of cold most part, unless you've lived any for up north. And you
Uh-oh.
expect a lot of snow. Even they even had received snow up for up north, but well, that is it because they live near the Arctic Circle, which is always cold. Well, this part of the year. Well, be glad you don't live in like Siberia. That's even colder.
Yeah, well, yeah, at least you guys don't have to live here. It got to like 110, 111 one time this year.
Wow. Well,
Yeah,
my country only had my country had only experienced 100 degrees twice
bro,
throughout
that's
the month.
about average. That's an average temperature for us, 100.
Well, average for my country in the summer is not even close. Um, I believe the closest is come on, around 80 to 95 most. That's pretty much it. That's just average summer temperature in my country.
I've been seeing a lot of YouTube drama from back behind, man. It's going.
Wow, 2.5 hours already, almost. Sheesh, it goes fast. Well, Malakat was here, but he left at one point way before you came up here.
That's actually kind of sad. How long has it been since you see me? Like half a year?
Uh, it had been like a half of a year or so, give or take. But we all know that you have school and other uh, priorities in your life that have been taken care of. And I mean, we understand if you have school still and other things that you've been doing, and we understand that. I mean, even I myself, and if I am at work and if I had to start working full time, like say, well, eventually if I had that, it would affect my streaming and stuff like that. I wouldn't been able to stream maybe just Fridays, Saturdays, or maybe just Saturdays. Depends. Uh, I don't know how else all our friends here is. I know what Brownie is. He is 18 and he's finished, or 19 that he finished school now, and um, Lord is in college.
Ooh, haven't seen
Well,
him in a while.
yeah, he has rarely been in my streams lately. And even Conan Lane hasn't even been in my streams for much part of the
What about Kovu?
for
What's he been doing? What's he been doing?
he works. He works in the movie theater, and he did apply for Pizza Hut, but he didn't get it.
Dang.
Yeah, but sometimes places are requires. But yeah, I would if I were to work at a pizzeria, I would not work as a delivery at all because that part of work is. I mean, you can get a lot of tip, you can, but sometimes it can be dangerous. Sometimes you can be drawn to this vacant home, be robbed, killed, all kinds of
Yeah.
things. It happens. I mean, I don't say that every single time, but it happens. Um, just a being question. Do you know? Do you remember the clown pandemic happened, 2016?
No.
Right. You were even that old. I don't think you were even born by the time.
No.
I do know that the fact that Cody was around the time, that was horrifying period of time. People being threatened by clowns that wielding kitchen knives, machetes, axe, you name it. Sadly, some people did manage to get attacked, and a few were, I think, even killed, or at least just injured. Oh yeah, so that was not a good time. I mean, I wasn't myself. I was about 26 when it happened. Even my country was not as spared for that it happened here too. But luckily though, not when I lived. Good thing too. People like, oh, if I want to see those clowns, I can easily beat their butt off. But when you really end up in that situation, you like cover up and run with a tail between legs. Like, nope, I not want to mess around with this type. uh, Halloween is just around the corner, and so
Oh, yeah.
it's one of the most fun part, but also it's also a little bit dangerous because a lot of people being behind mask could be killing people, others, or just robbing them. I remember one story of being of Halloween is that Oh, what was it? Oh man, I forgot about it. But yeah, it's a lot of people. Right. There was a story of a kid later died from poison candy. An actual story. Even though there's always these urban legends like poison candy or razor blade in the Sonic candy like that. But there's an actual story though. It happened in Texas. And the boy was not I think he was about 8 or 10 years old. And the killer was his own father.
What?
Yep. It turned out the father was working multiple works, multiple jobs in order to support his family, and if I remember, he had some debts, and he put, I think, $30,000 life insurance on his son. And during Halloween, he and his daughter and his son were out for a trick or treat, and the boy went to a house, but no one opened the door, so the father went there, and he came back with some pixie sticks. He claimed the owner actually gave him that. So, well, the boy opened up his candy that evening, and but sadly he died the same evening. He threw up and had convulsions and ended up in the ER. Turned out he died of poison of cyanide. So the police
Hmm.
asked the father to take him to the house where this poison candy came from, and the owner was home, but he wasn't home at Halloween. He was actually at work. And when the police looked into that, and sure enough, he was at work with tons of witness. He was working at this air traffic controller, so he was cleared out. But then they later discovered that the packing for the candy was had been tempered. Someone had opened it and resealed it. And sadly, they later learned that who was the bought this cyanide, which was the father, and when they learned that he had put a life insurance on his own son to kill him, and well, but this was in the 70s, I believe. I think it was 75 or 78. Um, the father was eventually executed in electric chair, but his execution was postponed a few times, but eventually he was killed. I mean, for God's sake, who in a right mind would put any life insurance on their loved one like that and just decide to kill that person off so that they can claim the life insurance? And he even tried to make it, he tried to even to take the claim of the life insurance after his son died, which is a very suspicious. I mean, seriously, who in their right mind do that? Unless you
Mm,
really have some screw loose. But I mean, luckily though, the boy's sister was not given any of that, and it's heartbreaking. His own father willing to go so far, poisoning his own son with cyanide so he can put the claim on the life insurance.
Hmm.
I mean,
How bad can you
yeah,
get?
yeah, I don't get it. I mean, who is in a right mind do that? I mean, it's like, what if your parents decide to put a life insurance on you, like say 50 or even $100,000, and they decide to kill you off and to claim it? That would have been very suspicious. First of all, who in the right mind? I mean, I can understand if parents could set up life insurance and so on. Like say, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if like the father put up a life insurance on his own wife, like say your dad to your mother, which is common to do, happens. But not necessarily mean that they would kill them off or anything. It's just it happens. It is a common practice that people do that, but still, some families can put up life insurance up to is not 30, not 100, and sometimes between as 500 or even as $1 million or something like that. Ish, that's something. But still, who in their right mind would go so far as put a life insurance on their own kid and just simply kill them? I
A
mean,
demon.
seriously, it's it's absolutely disgusting and so completely wrong.
Yeah, that's actually
But there's
that's
it is even those people, women, who's often called as the Black Widow, literally killing their husbands for their money and their assets, which often happens more than anyone knows. One fact is, um, Family Adams, or Adams Family, in one of those movies they made, Fester, the uncle in the family, he married a young woman, and he was a rich man, and she tried to kill him in order to get the money from his. But the thing is, no matter how much time she tried, either push him off a off the edge or something, or stab him, or even she even tried to blow him up, but he survived that, and she was considered as a Black Widow. I mean, sometimes when you married a young lady and, well, you have no idea. I saw this video on YouTube, but where this guy was married to a young lady and she faked that she had cancer so that he would pay off and everything. And she had supposed lover who claimed to be a doctor. And this guy has some paintings, and they were from his grandmother. So he wanted to sell them. But this story is a fictional, so it wasn't actually real. But he didn't know if those paintings were worth anything. So he had them turned in to be violated, to be examined, to be set any value on them. Later, he when he was when his wife was to leave, when the person called him and said those paintings was original Monet, which were worth millions. It's insane. I mean, what if you actually had somewhere in your home something worth millions? A family, for example, in New York, they went to this flea market. They bought a small white ball, a Chinese ball, for $25, and they didn't know how much was actually worth. And um, so they went to this an expert in antiques, and the expert looked at the ball and confirmed it was a genuine Chinese origin. And but this was from the from Song Dynasty, around 900 to 1200 AD. And the fact is, he confirmed there's only another of the same ball, but just a slight different pattern. But that other ball was in the British Museum. And this particular ball, it was estimated to be worth. Oh wait, they bought it in a garage sale for $3, and it was sold for 2.2 million. So they bought a ball for just $3 and worth nearly $2.5 million for it. How crazy is that? Oh, that's just hilarious. I mean, I even saw this on urban legend stories. Cannot turn out to be real. The guy bought a, uh, uh, a picture frame from his neighbor, and he just wanted a frame. When he removed the backside, he discovered it contained a paper. It was the Declaration of Independence, not the original, but it was original copy. Turned out they printed 13 copies of the original one, and unfortunately, there are only a few that had survived into this modern time. But this one, he sold it for $2 million, and it later was resold for $3 million. How crazy thing is that? I mean, a family buys a Chinese bowl just for $3 and it worth $2.2 million, and a guy who buys a frame from his neighbor and contained an original copy of the original Declaration of the Independence and sells it for $2 million. I mean, how crazy thing is that? I mean, what if you literally just buy something, or you find something in the attic or in the basement that's something has been in your family for years, like say something that your parents or even your grandparents bought, it could be worth thousands or even millions. I mean, who would even know if, I mean, what if you actually didn't know if you had a painting in your own house? It was an original Picasso. It could have been worth millions. You see, imagine like that. You know, that painting reminds me a little bit of Picasso. And you ask your parents if they know anything about it, and like, no, or your grandmother gave it to us as a gift, and I don't think it's an original. But you probably ask, oh, why don't we go take it to an expert to see that painting is actually genuine or not, and turn it to be an actual genuine painting made of Picasso himself, and the estimated work can be from um, I don't know how much a Picasso painting was worth. Let's see. How much a Picasso painting go for? Whoa. Uh, well, per work, 8.8 million. So if you've had an original Picasso work at home, you could have been a multimillionaire by now. It's hilarious. I mean, it's just, you never know. Even early sketches of his work sketches can also be worth of several hundred thousand, maybe a million, who knows? Anything that's involves Picasso or Monet, or even, or in this case, Rembrandt, which is another famous painter, it's those can be worth millions in the worst case, the best case. Worst case, they probably worth a few hundred, maybe a few thousands, but still, be able to find an original painting made by those classic design painters like Picasso, Rembrandt, or Monet, or anyone, and just having those either on your wall or in your attic or in a basement, just not knowing, like, hmm, this painting might worth something, and just like, and you're like, you live on how, like, having a heart attack, and like, are you kidding me? This painting is worth $4 to $5 million. Holy. Yeah, it's like, I mean, if your parents find out they had a painting that worth that much, they probably like have a heart attack. I'm like, it's just hilarious. That would have been, you know, finding something that's that value. Well, it would have been amazing. Guarantee on that one. You know, finding something that's valuable, even if it made someone famous person, or even finding maybe even autographs could be worth some amount of money, depending on if, like, if you have a guitar signed or autographed by Elvis, for example, that can be tons of money. But of course, you'd have to prove that was actually his autograph, or since that comes to a lot of people can make fake autographs. But if it's actually genuine, oh boy, I don't tell you that would have been worth much. You probably would like, should I keep it or donate it to an Elvis museum or something for display? Or maybe just let it out for rent or something. I wouldn't even know. But only something from the King of Rock. That would be cool. If it's one of his suits or one of his own guitars or even something personal belonging, it would have been cool. Oh boy. Cody, are you still alive?
Nope.
Yep, he is.
Even
But if you could meet any famous singer, who would it be?
That's a real complicated one, but
I mean,
I
it
gotta
could
go.
be in any.
I gotta go with
Maybe.
Louis Capaldi. Honestly,
True.
I like his sense of humor.
Oh boy, Lord Acidigus is in the comments. Lord, if you're bored, get yourself in there right now, or I will drag you in there. As he said, quote, tumbleweed moment. Even though I never seen a tumbleweed in person. It's just hilarious. But personally, if I had to see meet a singer, even if they're no longer around, I would have to say Elvis and Michael Jackson, of course. I mean, Michael Jackson had his great talent, and but Elvis, he was the king of rock. I undeniable that. I would definitely love to have his autograph and maybe just or even seeing us performing. One time when was performing on Hawaii, that performance of broadcast and over half a million people saw that global wide. It's insane. I mean, Elvis still inspired tons of people around the world, even to this day, with his music, his performance. Never let down your own dreams if you want to be a rock singer or even a singer at all. It's as for Cody, he want to be working in the movie industry to make movies or like making himself or be the director or producer. You may have to go to some form of school for that, just know the basics, understanding, and if when you do that, well, question is where to go next. I mean, there are five major companies like Warner Bros, Sonic Pictures, Universal Pictures, and others to go for. But if he really wanted to go to those, or he decided to make movies locally, that works as well. I mean, my dream, I wanted to be a teacher of history, but sadly, that's not happening since I would have not been accepted into college or university. I didn't have the grades for that, so that's a bummer. But I can still teach history to people around, no matter where I am, at work, home, friends, you name it. But I literally found my newest passion years ago, which is making my stories. But but at, at one point in the future, I will either retire from that. I mean, if I get too old and or if I lose interest and or but just saying this right now, when I had my own family, I won't be able to do much stories as originally. I mean, kids will get much more higher priority rather than stories. Completely understandable that part. You know, things that we dream about to do is if you have a dream that you want to do something, go for it. No matter what people say, or like you will never do it, you're too crazy, or that's gonna happen. I mean, for example, like Cody, he want to be a producer for a movie for big companies or this on. He want to make his fame in the movies. And if people saying like, if his parents like, you can do it, but if he have friends like, you would never do it. You're not smart enough, or you're not that well educated to make a movie. To be frankly, to be honest, you don't really have to be that good educated, because I can give you one example. They made a movie um, called Thanksgiving, where they had a turkey as the killer. And that movie production, they had just $3,500 for it, and they managed to make a movie, even a sequel of that one. So, and even that was locally made, but it gained some popularity of that one. So if Cody, despite some people saying that he doesn't have uh, the skills, or well, the knowledge how to even to work on a movie, or even to be a director or producer, or even or a movie script writer, hello, anyone can do it. Anyone can do it if they really show the passion in it. I mean, look at some of the most big writers, like say Stephen King, or I mean, if like or Spielberg. If he was had never been given much, if he never, you know, if he was never taken serious as a producer, some of the movies that he produced would produce, like Jurassic Park or some of those classical ones, may not happen. And Stephen King, if people didn't saw him as a serious writer, he simply would have not be able to do so many hard work, so many good books of, and which eventually became movies of, and even two series. So if anyone doesn't really show passion, and despite how many people saying you won't able to do anything like that, they're just wrong. I mean, eventually they will learn, being proven wrong, that you or someone you know was able to do that. I mean, for example, even if not like Cody, he wants to be a. Even if that Cody doesn't become a well famous movie producer like Steven Spielberg or something like that, and if he just became well known in his hometown or in their local area, okay, that's fine as long as he gain top. Even though he gained recognitions of as a movie, and as long as himself is happy that he managed to produce at least maybe one or maybe a few movies of his own, as long as that happened, don't give up the dream to do something that you really want to do. I mean, for example, if you want to be an author yourself, Stormy, and
Yeah.
yeah, and people like, oh, like even you have support your parents and your and others like not, and some if you write some stories, and people like that doesn't make sense, or doesn't sound good, or it's mediocre, or too bad, or just terrible. But good thing is for people to tell you, people can always take those negative comments badly, but you shouldn't, because you should take that more as positive. You know why?
Why?
Because if you know how people react, if the majority of those statements or comments from people saying your stories are too bad or makes no sense, or and saying that you could be doing better, or if they point out what's so in part of the story that was terrible, that also gives you inspiration or makes the will to continue to improve. Because if you continue to write stories and repeatedly, eventually those comments eventually would just simply get more less and done less and more positive response. And that's the work. I mean, think about it. If Stephen King, if he was writing his stories, if he was not given much, if no one bought his books, he probably would just simply quit as a writer, an author. And those books that would eventually become what else, like It, or Stand By Me, or some of those eventually would become such recognized movies eventually. If he had quit even before that, none of those movies or books would have been made. Because I understand that most people take credits very badly, but they shouldn't do that. They should take that as compliment to knowing, okay, if this story wasn't that good, I can prove myself. And if you do that, continue to make new stories, and or even if you're writing poems or just like that, if you continue to make new stories, new poems, or it's basically stories, or if you're running books, and if those are getting better and better, and eventually there might not even be any negative comments at all. Maybe maybe here and there, but mostly positive. So basically, people shouldn't just simply give up because of there was a lot of bad comments of your story or your movie or anything. Of course, there's always been some critics in such things, but as long as you're getting much positive response from majority of friends, and family, or even great audience, you always should continue to do what you like to do. Like say if you, I mean, for example, if you had if you had a younger sister and she wanted to play football and your parents like, no, you can't play, girls can't play football and or soccer, and she decided to try it, and it turned out she is a natural in that, and they decide, oh, our mistake, we was wrong. Or if like you wanted to do a choir and your parents was like, you can't sing a thing, you're singing so false, and you can't even sing the right tone, right? But if you apply for school choir and they sing you, and if you were given uh, a solo moment and they hear you singing and they realize, dang, our son is so talented, and you know, it's like that. People can be sometimes family members, parents, or siblings can be harsh when it comes like that. But as long as you don't let them down, you don't crush your dreams, and as long as you're willing to push forward to make continue to do what you like to do, if it's an author or like the singing, or if you like baking or cooking, it's like that. If you want to be a baker or a chef, as long as you really focus on to improve your skills and proving others wrong, you can actually do it. Like say for example, also many actors like say Eddie Murphy or Will Smith, like those, or Whoopi Goldberg. If those people would have been considered, or anyone that, or Jackie Chan, for example, they couldn't say people like you can never be an actor at all, and it turned out they were completely wrong in that. So people shouldn't just simply be let down saying to take the such critics so badly. I mean,
Yeah, but sorry, you can go ahead.
as so people shouldn't let them down, no matter what they saying or anything. As long as you self believe yourself, and if you had some support from some family members and some friends. As long as you do that and improve yourself, then go for it, no matter what other people say.
I mean, you Whoopi Goldberg, she's on The View now. I mean, that's pretty much all she's doing right now. Is pretty much The View.
Yeah, I mean, some people even like Jim Carrey. He had been an actor for many years, and he decided to retire. And for the thing is, when he came out with the announcement that he's retired was on April 1st. So, as we all know, April 1st as April Fool's Day, people thought that was an April Fool's joke. But he was actually just serious. He was considered to retire from acting entirely. So, if that happens, well, sad to see that happen and losing a good comedy actor. But people shouldn't let down to tell you that you can't do your dreams of one of the things you want to do. I mean, people as Cody, he wants to make movies. And if there are people out there telling him that he is not going to be a movie producer at all, it's just keep telling him, but he shouldn't listen to that. He just listen to his heart, and even if he has support from his family and friends, as long as that, and there are people out there telling him, you're just, you will be a terrible producer. I mean, to be honest, think of this. Even the most famous producers, they may have at first when they started in the business, somebody not even been would couldn't have been taken serious as a producer. It's just that. And even if it's like if Brony, if he wanted to be an actor, and people like, well, you're probably not being good an actor. You probably, even if you manage to be an actor, you maybe just only have small roles in the background, not ever never been a lead role, a main character role. And one day, like, oh, by the way, I'm actually having this main role in this new movie, and he's like, his friends like, seriously? And yeah, so people shouldn't let them down on that, no matter what they say. Well, 3 hours have passed on this stream. Wow. Um, I should tell you this, Stormy. Um, we are planning for by the end of the month on Halloween for a geisha stream of Scooby Doo topic, and
Jeez.
it's gonna be an overnight stream as well. So assuming maybe uh 7, perhaps 10 hours. It depends.
Ooh. Ooh.
So, but I'm not gonna be the host. That's gonna be Malagite.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I have no idea how many questions he is going to make on that one.
He's probably gonna be biased or probably gonna try and troll someone.
Probably. I mean, that's like last month. I did a stream with 346 questions.
Jeez.
Yeah, originally used 326, but I added 20 more. That was just hilarious. But it might be a few times that I'm going to do this longer streams. That's going to be at most 250. Of course, topic will be different. Again, that depend on what's going to be. It can be movies next time, maybe Star Wars or perhaps even something. And boy, look, who's far in the back? Mr. Muted Guy. Yep, Storm is here as well.
Spiders. No.
Mm.
Yeah. Have you heard any news on Diana yet? I haven't seen her for a little while.
Yeah, it has been, I think about 6 months or give or take.
Any news or anything?
Not much. Um, as a regular, my stores and oh yeah. Um, Firegoddess is likely coming over some point in October to see me in person for once for the first time in 5 years. We don't just not know when though, but hopefully that are November, either October or November. Who knows? But he will be for about a week. So it's that, and well, what do you eat for her? What do you have? Bot steak.
Did you have steak? Oh.
True. Or unless you want to eat escargot or a gay French snail. No. Nope. Nope. Or I don't know. Stormy, would you eat rat burger by any chance?
A what?
A rat burger
Hmm.
where the burger is made of rat meat?
Yeah.
Okay. um, that's new. Hmm. Do you like seafood?
Yeah.
If you ask Game Guy if he eats seafood, but he's like, no, I don't like seafood.
I think
He's
he
not like
does.
allergic or anything. He just doesn't like it. Well, the only seafood that he eat is tuna, if I'm correct, aren't it?
Yo, what?
But myself, I love seafood. The only thing I haven't eat is lobster. I never tried lobster before. But there is one food I'm never going to eat, which is squid. Ugh,
That sounds
no.
gross.
Yeah, it's like rubber. You know,
Rubber my tupper.
um, I seen um um oh um, but I have heard that lasagna, which has three different colors, four colors, the original one, and green, which is Spanish, which is I have it, it's good. Then this red is either made of tomatoes or red pepper bell pepper, or black, which is made of squid. But squid and sushi is two things I never gonna eat. Yuck. No way. Even if it's the last thing on earth.
So you're
Oh,
gonna die?
oh yeah, he's coming back. Um. By the way, Stormy, do you like spiders?
Spiders? It depends.
Like
But
tarantula?
I know. I don't know. Yeah, if it doesn't get aggravated, not yeah.
Yeah. Did you know that in some country in Africa and some in Asia, they literally fry tarantula and people literally eat the back section of the spider as a delicacy.
That's gross.
Yeah. Then have you seen people literally even eat fried cockroaches?
I'm not even gonna ask about that.
Yeah, I heard of people even using fried grasshoppers and covered in chocolate. Like, well, thanks, but no thank. Whereas in Indiana Jones, the first movie, where they literally ate frozen monkey brain as dessert.
That's
They literally they
that's
had the
terrible.
yeah they had the little head and the scalp had been removed and they had a spoon right in the brain and eating it like it was like yellow. Like I was like, ugh. But like in the real life, it was just normal uh, red yellow. But no, thank you. I'd rather eat ostrich meat than that. Ugh. I mean, ostrich like a giant version of chicken. It's a little bit tired now for some reason.
Or.
I think my game guy's coming back soon enough. I think. Not so sure. Just I don't think I'm going to stream too long since I want to save up enough hours for Halloween, which is gonna be fun. Hmm. He said that he was getting set up his the Blue Beast. What that is, I had no idea. Presumably his computer or tablet or something. I don't know. Unless it's his phone, the phone edition. Who knows? Things has always been as always.
Don't know. What?
Hmm?
Did you say something?
Oh, you said things are as always. And he's back.
Oh. Oh.
Game guy, you said you were setting up the Blue Beast. What do you mean by that?
Hmm.
Oy. And I should also mention this game guy. Lord were in the comments earlier, but he never joined in. Only the comments. Yeah, Lord Sirigus, our friendly snake demon, which I call him. Ah, his laptop. Makes sense. Hey, at least a laptop you can carry around with you, rather than desktop, which you can't. That's too heavy. Also, I saw the rare and valuable Lord Sirigus. Yeah, also, I didn't intend to that he would even show up. Oh boy. Well, I might just do the stream for a few more minutes before I decide to end. As already almost for 3 hours already. Oh geez, I have bad connection. uh, you probably should have been aware that some places like hotels have terrible Wi-Fi connection. Oh man, that's just Peachy, peachy, peachy. Huh, right. It's gonna work on this cryptic quest later on. Okay.
You just saw what was trending this morning.
Hmm?
Or for me, apparently it was this controversy between Sniper Wolf and this other dude, Jack Films, I think.
Sniper Wolf, Sniper.
You
Oh,
guys should-
her. Yeah, I don't know what you mean. I know what you're talking about. She made some appearance in even Darman's videos for a few of
I don't.
those.
Darman's kind of fake, bro.
Yeah, here's the thing about Darman. Some of the actors that he used in his videos are no longer there
Yeah, because I know he
because
never paid him.
yeah, basically. So some of them were just talking out about it and they were fired. Of course, opinionally, even okay, they weren't like actual hired by him that way, since he didn't use all the same actors all the time. Depend on in, but these actors, they weren't just like unknown actors. Turn out they are known from other TV shows, movies out there. In one of the most one of the actors or actress, the one who often plays Karen, the one with blonde hair, two different. She has two different eye colors, blue and brown, I think. She is actually not that terrible, but even though some of the videos that are on Darman has, well, I really haven't seen much Darman's videos lately since they literally fired some of those actors. I was like, really? Why? Some of the actors was one of my favorites, and like, all right, if you do this, you lost one of your new viewers. But I mean, if you didn't even pay your actors well enough, why not? You know that was a risk that happened eventually. I mean, if you don't really pay your actors or your staff like that, it's only a matter of time before they just simply ghost you or leave, or they end up being fired. But yeah, it just as Game Guy said, so Story, it has been a while since I've seen you. How are you doing?
Good.
He's doing
Oh,
good. Just planning for Bang Rubber tomorrow.
what? Hold
Just
up.
joking.
That's all right.
I'm just joking, dude. Oh boy. Yeah, it's just but even though Dorman, I mean, some of his contents of his videos are I mean they're good, but even some of them are actually based on a true story. It's just that he fired some of his actors for just like that. It's not cool. Not cool at all. How I'm doing? Can't complain. I'm doing okay. Just haven't done much. Just been watching some YouTube on my TV before and been on the computer for most part of the day. My sister and her kids was supposed to be here today, but they said they would be here around after 1 p.m. in the afternoon, but they didn't show up. They said I didn't have enough space in the car, so they asked my parents if they could pick them up and throw them home. But yeah, no. Reason is why is they wanted to see our new dog. Since we actually got a new dog about a week ago.
What's his name?
Miko.
Miko.
Yeah, it's a mix of toy poodle and Labrador. It's about 8 or 9 weeks old. So we did had another dog before then, but sadly we had to put her down because the day before she started getting sick, it's just she was very energetic, but the day after she was just very tired. She was like sleeping on the bed or on the couch, just like that, not much moving. So my parents decided to take her to the vet. They went to one place, but they told them to go to a different place, and they was told they had to go to a third place. And she had stayed there overnight. Um, Turned out she had uterus inflammation and lung ammonia. So, and the day after she was turned there, she could barely stand or even walk much. So they had to make the difficult choice to let her down to put her to sleep. I mean, it's better that than the vet told them that they could do the surgery to save her life, but it was about 5% chance that she would make a full recovery afterwards, and 5% is not much work to do it. So, and that's not all that. We had two cats, not only one. Our our dog we had, she passed away just only shortly after her 10th birthday.
No.
Yeah, that's terrible. But our cat, she passed away about 8 days later. Even she was a little bit somehow getting sick, and so my parents they debated if we get a new pet, another cat or a dog. So eventually, my parents told me that they have found a new dog, a male this time, and so I was like, okay. And his original name was Charlie, but they decided to name him. Well, mom decided to name him Miko. I was like, okay, it's her choice. Not much I can do. But Miko is actually very energetic, but he isn't allowed for any particular long walks until like sometimes after New Year's. I mean, he's only 8 or 9 weeks old, and he can barely um, uh, he just get tired easily. So not that long, much longer actually. I was just supposed to be in for 2 hours, but when this guy finally showed up or out of the blue, so I decided to continue a little bit longer to talk to him. I mean, how often do we see him stormy these days? I mean, so
Once every 2 months.
yeah, but we know that he has school and other things that too, and things like that came up in between. So yeah, so it's gonna be like that, and probably um I think when I pass 3.5 hours at most. Um, I even told him about our Halloween stream by the end of the month. It's gonna be a game stream about Scooby Doo as a topic, and Malachite is be the host of that one. And not only there's gonna be a game stream, but also be an overnight stream. But exactly how long, it's hard to tell. Since last one we did the first one was 7 hours. So yeah, so presumably maybe perhaps maybe 8 9 hours, but it's hard to say right now though, and depend on how many people is uh, filling up for that long, and of course, and the question is how many questions going to be in that quiz. I have no idea. Malachite hadn't even told me. he is still working on it. I do believe he would put some of the live action movies as a questions, like the first movie they made when they went to Spooky Island and all that. To me, Spooky Island and Monster Unleashed, those movies were tiring. They weren't even that good much. Honestly, no. I prefer the classical ones. So, Mr. Muted Guy, um, um, how was dinner? Get stuffed like a turkey? um, yeah, probably 200 or maybe even just 100. Maybe do randomizer chaos edition. Probably can do that. But next week we'll have a game show stream about world history. 108 or let me take a look on that one. um, I wasn't really 100% certain about that part. World history. There we go. World history. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Here we go. Dot, 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 dot. 110 question total. So that's gonna be fun. I still have I did one about American history. Since Game Guy was playing it himself, if I remember correctly on that part. But he no, was it he alone or was Roy there with him? I don't remember it fully. But all right, you were using the D20 yourself. Yeah, I think that was the were used against the D20, but that was about 81 questions. But I didn't even make all 81. We went as far as 71, since Inga was getting tired at the time when it happened. So we decided to, you know, choose to short end it there. So yeah, or like the last time, what you have when we did this long stream of the game show stream, when it was about wasn't wasn't it? I think Roy had 73 points, or was it Usman had 73 points and Roy had 62. Oh, it was something like that. And that was like, wow. Yeah, but next one that's going to be long game questions. It's going to be just 252 or perhaps 256. But yeah, it was something like that. I think it was 164 against 73 points. And since you choose world history, well, it's going to be more of those world history, but not until like the first one has been used. And the American question, well, since I didn't use those 10 last ones, still have those plus new questions in that quiz. For the past few days, I've been looking up more questions for American history, Swedish history, Japanese history. It's gonna be fun. And
Yes,
I have even, yeah, and I even came up with several, found several questions for space related questions. And I take screenshots of each question that I find. The one that have with space, ooh, um, I think it's either between 70 or 90 screenshots in that folder alone, and that's insane. Okay, so Dylan is aware about overnight Scooby Doo quiz, but I can tell right now it's also a possibility that it might not even be Scooby Doo to depend on if Malachite being able to complete all those questions. Oh, by Stormy, just noticed. So people see. And the dog starts barking in there or whining as my mom left the room. Well, not surprising. Yeah, so um people see if it's gonna be Scooby Doo on Halloween this year. Um but yeah, but I'm looking forward to that one. But exactly how long that stream will be as overnight, it's hard to tell right now. It's very much difficult to tell right away since hard to tell since I mean that depends on how many people even show up. If it's just me, Game Guy, Roy, Dylan, and Hasbroni, if Evil's even there. So well, you know. So until then, we will see what happens for our second overnight stream. And I really hope that our friendly Lord Snake Demon will show up. That would be fun. Maybe Cody Darkhog could show up. Well, depend. You know, it would be fun to see if Dave will show up, but right now, only time can tell. But of course, I might just simply ask um, Cody, Darkhog, and Lord the day before Halloween, just in case, just have a heads up if they will be there or not, to depend of their plans or anything. So yeah, I probably would end here. Has past 3.5 hours. My goodness, this is well. Let us be fun. Um, yeah. Even though Game Guy, aka Beauty Guy, didn't he speak much? I can talk today. That's fine though. I mean, he's either at the hotel or somewhere else. He had mentioned before that he was going to this arcade with his family. I can tell you, Lord guys, I never been to an actual arcade. Well, technically, in my hometown zoo, they had this section of rides, and they even had one small part where they can play some kind of arcade games. But if that counts, if it not, then I had never been to an actual arcade, or at least an arcade hall, as also in America. Never been to one. But if I had opportunity to go to one, I would definitely go to one. But yeah, that's pretty much it. For once, we had Stormy here, and that was like what? Once a fun for once. So until then, I will see you guys next week. Wait, is this Saturday or Sunday right now? Up Sunday. Yep. So I'll see you guys next week. So until then, this is Fish Diablo. Oh, bye, Cody. This is Fish Diablo signing off. Bye.